Hello and welcome to 99.1 WIUX LP Bloomington. My name is Connor Wright.
I'm Gavin Gorski.
And you are listening to GavCon 5.
And we are scheduled to have a special guest on today.
Yes.
He has not entered the building yet, but...
The Uber is running a little bit late, but that is fine. We will get him to you as soon as he's here.
Yeah, his name is CJ Miller.
Yep.
He is a campaign manager for none other than Connor Wright's city council campaign.
Yeah. And previously he was the campaign manager for Peter Iverson, who was on the Monroe County Council. Not to be confused with the Monroe County Commissioners.
What's the difference?
And not to be confused with the Bloomington City Council.
What's the Monroe County Commissioners?
I don't really know. The county council does appropriations, spending money basically. I think that's all they do, really.
Okay.
And the commissioners do all the policy setting. I think that's how it works. It's confusing, and I don't really get it, and it's also kind of dumb.
Fair enough. So yeah, we have some exciting interviews coming up. We're starting to book these well in advance.
We have never been so ahead of schedule and on top of things.
Coming up next week is Emily Carrico, the race director for the Little 500. Very excited to have her on. She just started a few months ago, maybe a month ago, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But she raced in the Little 500 herself, and yeah, she seems like a very cool person. I've had a few conversations with her, so.
Nice. And then the following week, we have David Wolfbender coming on, who is the other student running for Bloomington City Council here, and he is running unopposed in District 6, so he will be on, barring something ridiculous happening, he'll be on Bloomington City Council next year.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool that we have a student on there. Almost virtually guaranteed.
Where is his district?
It is basically all of campus and all of the very heavily student housing directly to the west of campus.
So I'm not in his district?
Correct.
Okay.
It is north of 3rd Street still.
Okay. Got it.
Yes. It's about 90% students, and only a student is running, so yay.
Nice. Well, that'll be cool. He seems like an interesting guy.
Yeah, now he currently does like city relations. I don't know if he's like I don't know what the title is, but he does like city relations with IU student government, so he's spoken at several city council meetings before.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty familiar with city government in general.
Nice. Coming up after that on March 3rd is a very special guest, Mr. Mark Dillon.
Extra special guest. More than the rest, who are all special.
He is a IU alum, raced in the Little 500, and now coaches Team Cinzano, which I have affiliation with. Yeah.
Affiliation with, meaning you ride for them. Yeah, I'm just the team manager. I fix the bikes. I'm the mechanic.
So yeah, we'll probably be talking a little more Little 5 that day. Should be interesting.
And then we have spring break afterwards. So for 2 weeks we will not have a show. Is that 2 weeks? You can't do math. No, that looks like 3 weeks. I don't know. Something else is going on there probably too. I don't know what. Oh, yeah. I'm going on a camping trip too. The week after.
We'll have a little spring hiatus.
Yeah. And then on March 24th, we'll have an IU soccer coach, former IU soccer player, and former All-American, and former Major League Soccer player, Tanner Thompson, on our show. They talk about the greatest program in NCAA history.
Wow.
And what it's like to be a professional athlete.
Very cool.
Yeah, his brother still plays Major League Soccer, still a professional athlete. His brother played at IU for 1 year too. Tommy Thompson.
Tommy Thompson.
Yeah.
Are they all T's?
I don't know if he has any other brothers other than that. I only know those two. But I was texting my brother before this, and I was like, you should listen to our show because he plays soccer. Like, he likes IU soccer, and he's probably be interested in this.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah. Like, I played Tanner's team once, in like a game, and he beat them like 4-0.
Wow.
So his youth teams, I guess, are not as good as his collegiate teams.
That's funny.
But yeah, that should be pretty exciting. I don't know. I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to it.
I like soccer. I just think it's cool to have a former professional athlete on.
Yeah, definitely. I went to one soccer game last year.
You didn't stay the whole time, did you? Pretty sure you left early.
Probably.
I think you left at halftime. I've been to several, men's and women's.
Sean tried to get me. Sean is, Connor's roommate, but not really. But
And we're friends, but we
basically.
live in different apartments, but same complex. We'll be roommates next year, though.
Anyway, he
Long
tried
story.
to get me to come to several soccer games this year, and I never went. So
You should have gone, especially the tournament games.
yeah,
Single elimination is pretty cool. Unfortunately, we didn't win the tournament this year. We got runner-up, which I've seen us do 3 times in my lifetime. And I do not like it any of those times.
next year we'll win for sure.
Next year.
It's always next year.
You want to talk about the next scheduled guest?
Yeah, April 14th. Pretty close to the little 500 there. We'll have on Hank Duncan, former race director, he preceded Emily Carrico. He's currently working for the city of Bloomington as a pedestrian and bicycle
coordinator.
Mm-hmm. And he's also a master's student, I believe,
Yes.
at the O'Neill School of SPIA.
The O'Neill School of Speed. Yeah, so that should be interesting. We talk a little bit about, transportation around Bloomington, Little 5. We got a theme going on this entire school year has been Little 5.
A lot of athletics focus.
Yeah, but mostly just cycling athletics. We have one person. Well, okay, we had Jacob on first semester. He was an IDS reporter, and he talked about football and basketball.
We also had
reporting for those.
on Garrett Hicks, who was
Oh yeah, we did. My bad. I
track
forgot
and
that.
cross country.
Yeah, so I guess we have the cycling still far outweighs all the other sports combined, but now we're gonna have someone on talk about soccer. So maybe eventually we'll get a golf player on or something.
Yeah.
I hope not. We're getting desperate.
I saw you've been tweeting about some experiences you've had.
Yeah, it's
on
a
bike.
trip riding around here on a bike. You ride around long enough, and you see the light sometimes.
Yeah.
But I can always tell when someone's going to be a bad driver because they look like they're going to drive badly, and then they do. They're never hiding it. I'm not like, oh, they're waiting at the stop sign. They're not going to run me over. It's like, no, they look like they're going to run through the stop sign immediately, and they do.
Yeah. I feel like the number one problem I have is people passing me way too close.
Yeah, I don't really care if people do that. Like, if you're Marco Andretti, like, sure, pass me with like 2 inches to spare. I don't care.
I care because what if I went like an inch to the left? Like,
just don't.
like when we're out on these like country roads, it can be really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
I'm not out on the country roads. I'm only in the city. I've seen people almost like head on collide with another car because they're so eager to pass me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did you not use your brain for 1 second? There is a hill right in front of you. You cannot see who is coming up over the hill.
Yeah.
I do not want to get hit by pieces of your car. I don't care if you get in an accident. Don't do it when I'm around, though.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. And also, like, another thing people do is if there's like a line of cars, right? Maybe just 2 of them.
Yeah.
And the first one passes me,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other one will just follow them
Without even looking
without
to see.
even like seeing if it's clear.
Yeah.
just like blindly.
People are just. Not everybody should have a license. Let me put it that way. We're not all endowed with the ability to drive heavy machinery.
I mean,
Most of us aren't, actually. I don't
yeah.
know. I can't say if I should be allowed to drive a car or not. That's not up to me to decide.
Anyway,
I think the DMV is just handing them out like candy these days, though.
oh, you said DMV?
Yeah.
I thought it was BMV here.
Okay, hold on. Maybe it is DMV.
Because I say DMV too, but I think in Indiana it's like
I don't know. I don't
Bureau
really care that
of
much.
Motor
Alright,
Vehicles.
I think CJ is here, so I am going to sign off for a couple minutes. Gavin, you can take over. I'll be right
All
back.
right. Just got a text from my mom saying Dad could be a guest on Friday, April 21st. We'll have to think about that. I know the women's Little 500 is on that day, so that might have a conflict there. I think we might have to cancel the show. It's at 4 p.m., so definitely want to not miss that. So yeah, I'm very excited for this interview today with CJ. He and I, we've met a few times. Last Saturday, we door knocked for Connor's campaign together. Well, not necessarily the same group, but at the same time. And I'm going to do that again tomorrow. So yeah, getting people registered to vote, especially students, is seems like a big part of running for city council. And hopefully we'll talk about that today. So, yeah. Really hoping that they'll come back in a second. We've never had to do this before. Most of the time our guests are on time, but I guess you can't always have that. Yeah, let's see what else. I hope Connor's listening right now and he's hearing me kill this without him. Kind of wish I could just play some music right now, but it's all right. The guy before us, when we came into the studio, he was playing. His show is prog rock. So yeah, if you tune in from 1 to 2 on WIUX, you'll hear some progressive rock, potentially some Pink Floyd. And I think after us, we have another interview show. It's hosted by this woman, Natalie. She interviews musicians. So if you stick around after our show, you'll hear that. And I think they have multiple guests on each show. And they're always local musicians. I remember the time we had on John Hamilton, the mayor of Bloomington. We came out of the studio and there were like this group of musicians out there waiting to go on the next show. And John Hamilton, the mayor, was like talking to them, kind of chatting them up about their music and their group and stuff. It was a pretty funny moment, like a crossover of the guests from two different shows. It was a pretty wholesome moment, honestly. Yeah, so pretty good environment in WIUX, I would say. Everyone kind of supports each other, and I wish I were more involved, honestly, but it's definitely fun to do GavCon 5. We started selling stickers on tpublic.com. So I think we'll start promoting those on the Instagram account. They're only $2, and it just has our logo. So yeah, hit those up. I don't know what else to talk about right now. I'm missing Connor big time right now. He's the con to my Gav. So hitting GavCon 3 right now. I think nuclear war is definitely getting closer. So yeah, definitely not at a GavCon 5. We also just figured out how to get to the studio faster. We'd been taking this kind of back staircase that went through the basement of Franklin Hall, the media school where the studio is. And now we walk through the main lobby, and it's a lot nicer. The reason we needed that is or we found that way is because we needed an elevator, and that's the only path you can take that uses an elevator. So yeah. My roommates Avery and Julia are talking about starting their own podcast through WIUX as well. So we'll have to stay tuned. Maybe we'll give them a shout out there once they have that set up and running. Love to support another show on WIUX. Hopefully, I'm not giving away that information without their permission. I think that's public information. The 99.1, actually, sorry, the B-side studio, which is right next to us, is playing some music fairly loud. I don't know if it's audible, but we can definitely hear it in the 99.1 studio. So tune into B-side if you want to hear some music. I think I can hear the door opening. Hopefully we have Connor and CJ back, and we can get into the interview. Here we go.
We're back. What are you even talking about, Gavin?
Just rambling, just trying to get through the.
You could come over here and
Sure.
put a song on or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got CJ with us. So CJ, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi. I'm sorry if you hear me breathing hard. Was running a little bit, more so speed walking. But hi, I'm CJ Miller. I am the campaign manager for Connor Wright, who is running for city council.
Yep.
Who's also the co-host of this show.
Yep.
And a dear friend of mine.
Oh, nice.
Aww.
I grew up in Detroit, Michigan for the first 16 years of my life. I moved down here when my stepfather got transferred jobs. He worked for General Motors. We did not move to Bedford, which is where the General Motors plant is, but we moved here. And I've been here ever since. I graduated from Bloomington High School South. Go Panthers. Oh no, I really like politics and writing.
Nice.
I'm a little boring. I don't know.
I don't think politics is not boring. To me, anyway. Some people, maybe.
Yeah, no, it's.
You can make it interesting. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, you politics can be really fascinating if you're really into it. The speaker vote was peak drama, but also random mundane things.
Yeah.
Like having a debate on urbanism, for example, is really fascinating. And because people would like think like, oh, urbanism doesn't really like mean that much. Like how we build our cities doesn't really matter that much, but it really does. But I won't get into an hour-long rant because I will on that topic and many others.
See, I was trying to tell Gavin that we had plenty of questions because I was going to ask you about urbanism. And he was like, what if you don't have enough? I was like, no, I think this one will get at least 10 minutes out of CJ.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think there's a reason. I mean, there's a reason a lot of people go to Europe, right? And they enjoy it so much. I've never been to Europe, oddly enough. I grew up in Detroit, so I'm sure you can assume I didn't come up with money. So
That's pretty similar to Europe, though.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
What's
Detroit.
the? Wait, what's
I
the?
said Detroit is similar to Europe.
That's
in what way?
And that's
It's
a
not.
joke. It's not at all.
That's why.
It's not at all. No. There's
I mean,
no.
I've only been in the
Detroit.
airport, but yeah.
Yeah, Detroit. But yeah, so I mean, there's a reason everybody goes there and they like it. I think having basic necessities, be close, having affordable housing,
Well,
being able,
it's not always affordable in Europe.
yeah,
Just look at England.
That is true. It is not affordable in a lot of cities in Europe. That's true. A lot of places
Or
in the West.
Copenhagen. When I went there,
Or
they were like, "Yeah, everything's so expensive. You can't. It's hard to live here."
yeah, I'm sure in a lot of the big European cities it is very expensive. America is not the only country in the West having a housing crisis.
Yes.
In fact, it's even worse in some parts of Europe.
Yeah.
England being
Yeah.
the predominant face of that. But I think having affordable housing, having diverse housing too, so changing our laws on how, for example, it is extremely hard or impossible in many cities in the United States, in many jurisdictions, for apartment buildings to be built on top of stores for some reason, right? This is just a broad example. Or like a lot of neighborhoods don't have neighborhood stores really because you can't build them. Like that's a problem.
I thought this was the land of the free.
Yeah,
Yes.
you would have thought.
Land of the free, except for when it comes to building things in places. And then there's a lot of restrictions.
Yeah, and the reason that is, and I could go into a very, very long rant, is American suburbanization. Now, a part of that is because this country is just so large. Like on a practical level, if you want to get to New York to California, driving is a very viable option to do that, right? Like, so when we look at countries in Europe, we also have to take that into account, that those nations are much smaller than ours, right? Like the UK is about the same size as Mississippi. So it's easy. So
And they have a lot more people living there than Mississippi.
yeah, they
too.
do have a lot more people living there than Mississippi, but like it's about the same size. And you know, I think France is a bit smaller than Texas. Don't quote me on this. This is not scripture.
Someone fact check this.
Yeah,
right
someone fact check. But the point is, like, European nations, even the larger ones, are about the size geographically as U.S. states. So it's easier for them to do this. But I think it's not impossible for America to go down that route. And there are health benefits too. I'm a bigger guy and I'm trying to walk more and go more places. It's a little harder because in America and in most places, you know, it's not built for walking. But, you know, I'm a bigger guy. I'm trying to walk more places. And, you know, it's harder to do that when, you know, your town or city isn't built for it. And it's not just the town I live in. I would argue that downtown Bloomington is fairly kind to walkers and bikers, and that's good. There's still more progress to do. This is why Connor's running for city council. And that's why
That is all true.
that's why I'm running his campaign. But yeah, so I don't know. I could go into an hour-long rant that would take the entire show. Because I was about to go into like how the modern American suburb was built, and it was going to take a whole detour, and and I think we are all better off if I don't go into that rant. If I don't if I don't talk about the Great Migration and white flight and the switching of a manufacturing economy to a service economy. No one wants to hear about that because I will go into full depth about it. So
You ever watch that YouTube channel? It's like Not Just Bikes. Is that what it's called?
I don't watch YouTube. Why are you looking at me?
Okay.
I don't know.
I only there's like two YouTubers that I like actively keep up with, and it's Connor Franta, who is he's like an older YouTuber. I wouldn't say I'm not gonna say older YouTube. When I say older YouTuber, I mean he's been on there for a while.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah, and he was like peak gay YouTube like in circa like 2013, 2014, but he still makes YouTube videos. And he is just the most peaceful and calming person I've ever seen in my life. And Connor Franta is like one of the like 3 people that I love this song, by the way. I don't know if anyone else can hear it, but it's playing in like my ear. It's
I don't
great.
know.
Sufjan Stevens.
Yeah. No, oh my God, I love him. No, but like Connor Franta is like one of the 3 people in this world who, if I ever met, I would like freeze. Like one of the 5 people rather, that if I met them, I would freeze. Like I wouldn't know what to do or say. And that's saying something because he's up there with presidents.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, this sorry, not website. This YouTube channel, Not Just Bikes. It talks a lot about, or a lot of their videos are about what you're talking about, like urbanism and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It is a like. I don't know if the
Wait,
creator.
what's that YouTube channel called? I'm gonna look into that. Not Just Bikes. Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna remember that if my ADHD will allow me. If not, I'll just text you. But yeah.
Anyway, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean-
how cities are built is extremely important, and also important to our mental health, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna try not to turn this into a rant, but
Well, let me just say something.
yeah,
real
go
fast
ahead, go
before
ahead.
You
Yes.
say a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that I'm sitting here talking about this stuff now, because it all started like my senior year of high school. I got an internship with the Department of Planning and Zoning for the city of Fishers, and so I was like, I don't really know what this stuff is, but I like government, so sure, I'll intern there.
Our
And
governing is local.
Yeah, and then I started to learn what planning and zoning was, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool, actually. And then the Twitter algorithms figured out that I knew what planning and zoning was.
Dog,
Oh, really?
You like one tweet and it's over.
Yeah, so now my Twitter feed is like 30, it's probably like 1/3
Dude,
cycling and walkability and planning and zoning stuff.
you got
housing.
radicalized.
You're pretty
Well,
much.
I mean, I guess kind of, but
I'm just kidding.
it's like in a good way, not radicalized in a bad way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh yeah, now I hate all these people. I'm like, no, I want to build more housing now and make the city look a little different so that it's safe for people to walk and bike around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for people to have community, which is
Yeah,
important too.
but now I see examples from all across the world of this kind of stuff. And it all started because I got an internship at the Department of Planning and Zoning at the city of Fishers.
I don't know how it started for me. I just think I always liked trains. I think that's what it was.
Oh yeah, trains were super cool.
Like I liked trains since I was a kid. And oddly enough, to this day I've never ridden one.
Oh,
Really?
you gotta change that.
I've never ridden a train. I tried to get an Amtrak ticket once, but they kind of like screwed up like when I was supposed to go on there, and so I just got a Greyhound.
Amtrak will you'll either be like, oh yeah, this is kind of fun, or you'll be like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
This is why we don't have trains in the U.S. It took me from Wisconsin to Montana. It took me over 24 hours to
Oh my
travel.
god.
Wow.
Yeah, we need high speed rail. But the
Yeah.
problem with high speed
Well,
rail is that
we have the
it's-
opposite of high speed rail.
Yeah, it is
slow speed.
so expensive to build.
Yeah.
And there aren't any cuz like the way like 90% of politicians operate is how can this help me in the next election or in the
Yeah.
next cycle?
And the high speed rail helps you 5 election cycles down the road.
Yeah, when your term
And you may not be there anymore.
Yeah, when you're
Yeah.
term limited and you can't really do much anymore, and yeah, so it really sucks. I think the way we should probably, I think the American people writ large need to see that it's effective and it works, like high speed rail. And so I think what should happen is, I don't think we should build quite yet a high speed rail across the country yet. because it's really expensive. And while it would be worth the expense, I'm not entirely sure if most Americans would agree. Like, they would be like, oh, this seems a little much, right?
Yeah.
Especially for when you don't ride trains. I think you should, like, build one. Now, I know California's trying to do this, and they've gotten blocked, and it's just a mess now for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but I think you should build one up and down the West Coast, and then up and down, like, the Elka. I think it's called Elka. So, like, Boston, New
Yeah.
Haven, New York, Jersey City, Philly, all the way down to D.C. And then build one, like, that's centered in Chicago and sort of springs across the Midwest. And then you can maybe build one in the South. I don't know where it would go. Maybe Houston, maybe like Houston to Austin, and then it goes up to Atlanta and through Birmingham or whatever, you know, like build it in increments. So people are like, yeah, this is great. And so there's a want for it to be a national. Because that's a part of the reason that, because Britain is trying to build a high-speed rail right now. And it has gotten crazy expensive. I think the original cost, like I said, I'm not a priest on this, so fact check me, please do. But I'm almost certain that it was 12 billion pounds to start off, and now it's 100 billion pounds. And that's
really heavy.
yeah, that's a heavy, yeah. So I think a part of that is like they tried to do too much too fast.
I just got your joke.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, even
Yeah.
if you just connected like Chicago to Detroit,
yeah,
and then people use that a bunch, then you can be like, okay, well now we want to go to Milwaukee.
yeah. Like I think we should build it in increments.
I'm not saying Indianapolis because that's just a pipe dream.
That's just a
No one wants to go here.
no.
People want to go to Chicago from Indianapolis, but they don't want to come back.
Yeah. But I think high-speed rail should come in increments, like across regions of the United States. And then once people see, like, oh, this is great and effective, I want to go from Chicago to New York,
Mhm.
then there's a political want and a will for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You guys hear or see like the Tesla tunnel or whatever?
Yeah, I just laugh a little bit that
I am so mixed on electric vehicles because on a practical level, they're extremely useful in combating climate change, right? Like you guys are playing banger music. I'm sorry.
it's not us, it's the people
Oh, they are.
behind us because
It's,
they're playing it very loudly.
B-side.
Yeah.
I was talking about it.
Oh,
You
you
guys
were.
were gone.
They are
Yeah.
creme de la creme.
You should tell them that.
Yeah, I am. You guys are great. So, like on a practical level, they're good at fighting climate change. Because what's going to happen when Africa develops as a whole? I know Africa's not a country, y'all. I'm black. I am well aware. But like Africa as a whole develops. What happens when every family in Africa has a car? That's going to be pretty bad for the environment. Because there's about 1 billion people in Africa, the continent of Africa. And so I think like electric vehicles are promising in our fight against climate change, but I also just want us to have really robust local and national public transportation.
Yeah.
And I don't want the electric vehicles to I don't want us to just switch from gas cars to electric cars and just think all of our problems are solved, because I think urbanism is one of the most important issues of our time, because I think you can draw a direct line from the rise of American suburbanization and the rise in anxiety in our youth today. Like I said, I'm going to refrain from going on a huge rant. Hold on, let me pull up my Instagram so y'all, in case anyone has a question, because I will go into this very, very long and tiresome rant about.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'm just gonna add, I think electric cars are good,
Yeah,
but
they are.
my overall position on cars as a whole remains the same.
Yeah,
I would like to not be hit by a car. I don't care if it's an electric car.
yeah.
I don't want to
think
be hit
anyone.
by it.
Yeah,
So, I think we should make it. We should make cities built around people, and make it safe for them to move around without just being in a car, because those are also expensive too,
Yeah.
and you shouldn't have to be able to afford one to move around
Yeah.
and do
True
things.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, where I'm from, a lot of people didn't have cars and they relied on the public transportation. I mean, I'm from Detroit. I mean, I'm from the Motor City and people couldn't afford cars.
Yeah. Well, I definitely couldn't afford them after the car manufacturers left.
Yeah. That is true.
It happened to Anderson too, where my dad grew up.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Still recovering from that. Probably will be forever.
Yeah, Detroit's coming back, but it's going to be a minute.
Hmm.
Yeah. Shout out to Mayor Mike Duggan.
Maybe the sports teams will also come back at the same time that the city does.
Are you talking about Detroit?
Yeah.
You funny.
Get those Lions to be good eventually.
Nah, I am half tempted to
Pistons.
say that if the Lions won the Super Bowl, that would revive Detroit right then and there. I know that's a pipe dream, but like, come
Yeah,
on.
well,
If the
good luck
Lions,
to the city, because we know that's not happening.
no, if the Lions won the Super Bowl, I would take the Amtrak all the way back to Detroit just to watch the game because it would be.
We don't have an
banger.
Amtrak from here.
No, I would have to drive to Indy. I'll have to get someone to drive
I
me
don't
to
think we
Indy.
have one from Indy either.
There's an
Figured
Amtrak
out
in Indy.
somewhere.
There's a bus. I don't think it's a train.
There's not an Amtrak in Indy.
No, I'm pretty
So,
sure they closed it down.
Am-
I swear they did, because I tried to look over the summer.
They shut it down.
Yeah.
Like it must have been a recent shutdown because I was in Detroit for like New Year's of 2022.
There was an Amtrak then.
Yeah, because I was gonna get an Amtrak from Detroit to Chicago, and then it was gonna take me from Chicago to Indy.
Are you sure it was like a train? It wasn't a bus that was going to take you?
No, it was a train. I am 85%
Well, okay, never mind.
sure.
Then. I would have to.
I don't
double-check.
know. Maybe because if you said it was going last summer, then they might have shut it down, which is a tragedy.
Well, I don't know. Unless they opened one. This would be awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely did happen. I'm checking right now.
You're ready to book a trip already.
Because I would have left from Indianapolis and not Wisconsin
Yeah.
to travel to Montana.
Oh, you went? Why did you go to Montana? Why did you go to Wisconsin and not Chicago?
Because they were out of tickets from Union Station.
Oh yeah,
So I had to go to-
because Union Station is the like Midwestern, like you.
It's
go
the
there.
hub.
Yeah, it's the hub.
Yeah,
as
so
they
I
say.
had to go to Wisconsin Dells to catch the train.
Yeah, I went to Wisconsin once. It was that suburb. I don't want to give him any airtime, but do y'all know who shall not be named, the one with the gun who got off?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wherever that happened, that's where I went. I can't remember the name of
Kenosha?
it. Yeah, thank you, Kenosha. Yeah, I really didn't want to say his name. Yeah, I went to Kenosha once. I went to a restaurant, but this was when I was visiting Chicago, so I didn't like look around. But yeah, it's.
All right,
it's
I'm looking
nice
for
up there.
trains, and I'm pretty sure these are actually buses.
Oh, that would have been. You know how mad I would have been if I had got to Chicago and they had put me on a bus. I would have been out. I would have been livid. I would have been like, hold on. Someone lied to me.
We're going to the weekend now because this is when they'll definitely have trains if they do.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
They do not have. I would have been
One of them is
irate.
okay.
I want you guys to talk about the campaign
One of these you take a bus
whenever you're done.
No, hold on. I got one last thing. One of these you take a bus to Champaign, Urbana, and then you take the train to Chicago from Indianapolis.
Oh, I see.
So that makes a whole lot of sense because obviously Champaign is on the way.
Pete Ghetto.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. It's the exact opposite direction, kind of. Not exact opposite, but yeah. Okay, what do you want to ask?
Okay.
State your question.
It's not a question. It's just a demand.
Okay, state your request. I don't listen to demands.
How's the campaign going?
Well, CJ, you want
Yeah.
to answer first, and then I've answered this so many times.
Is it?
I'm tired of answering this. It's your turn.
It's going great. It's going fantastic. We have outraised our opponent, which is always a lovely.
Wait, hold on. How do you know this? Do you
I
know
li-
your opponent's raised?
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but I know we outraised him.
Well,
I forgot the exact.
I just have one thing to say. If you're getting outraised by me, then you're doing a bad job. Because my friends and I combined for very little money. So congrats.
So we did outraise our opponent. We're already knocking doors and registering voters. We're knocking doors today
Yep.
And tomorrow.
and tomorrow. I will not
And
be.
Gavin will be out there. So if you want to see Gavin,
Yes.
if you want to meet the host of this show,
If you want to meet the goat
you should
himself,
totally come out tomorrow.
but you will not meet me tomorrow. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Yes, I have a birthday party tonight, and so
And
you know.
so some people have to recover from the birthday party tonight.
Yes,
Because he is staying up super late. That is the only reason.
that
why.
is the only reason.
That's
is
the only
because-
reason why.
Yes.
That's the only reason I'm staying up to the the chicken sing or whatever. I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know. The rooster
The,
crows.
the
whatever.
rooster crow, yeah.
The chicken sing.
A morning bird makes a noise. No, but everything's going good. We're already canvassing. We're registering voters. We had an announcement party and that went great. We're raising money.
You guys are crushing it.
Yeah, like we're low key doing our thing.
I've learned so much. I'm ready to take a job on another campaign now. I know how to do all this stuff now because I had to learn.
Yeah, and I've learned a lot too. This is the second campaign I've ever ran.
Yeah.
The first was shout out to Peter Iverson, who's on the Monroe County Council. He's GOAT. But I ran his campaign for the general election in the last cycle, 2022.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've learned a lot, and I think the campaign is going swimmingly, honestly. And I can't wait to see what becomes of it in the future. Councilman.
Me too. I am very cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I'm
You
not.
can't ever be too optimistic in politics.
No, I'm optimistic. Councilman.
Well, I am
Kinda
not.
right.
Councilman
Because
Connor.
that would be real sad if I get,
Yeah.
high on my own supply and then I lose.
No, yeah. No, I would
Yeah.
cry.
I will not be
actually.
doing that. I
'Cause
am
then-
not Sean Patrick Maloney.
Who is that?
Nah, because let's drag
No, if
him.
you
'cause
understood that, if you didn't understand that, then I'm sorry for you.
Nah,
I'm not
because
explaining this
let's
joke.
drag him. Because how did he lose?
No, I'm just kidding. He was the chair of the DCCC,
He
the Congressional Campaign Committee for
and
Democrats,
for Democrats in the House, and
and he lost.
and he forced, because of redistricting, he forced like another congressman in his area to run in a district that was nowhere near his own district. And then he lost.
Yeah.
Like he carpet bagged into a new district that was slightly bluer than his old one, and then he lost. And everyone clowns on him.
It's just extra funny because he was in
Where
charge
was
of
it?
keeping Democrats in Congress,
This was in New York.
and
Oh, okay.
he forgot to keep himself in Congress.
Yeah, which
Wow.
I will give him a little leeway. Like
No.
I mean a centimeter of leeway, because New York was one of the 3 states that had a Republican wave. Everywhere in the country,
Yeah, that
Democrats
was-
outperformed except New York, Florida, and
Indiana.
yeah. I actually
We got to
was-
throw ourselves in there. We did not do as well as we were hoping.
we were hoping, but nothing really told us that we was going to be creme. I never believed the hype. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, I did not think the Senate race was going to be very close,
Yeah.
but it was still really disappointing to see it actually not be that close.
The Destiny Wells,
Yeah.
that was a little heartbreaking, but I
Yeah.
didn't really expect us to do much. So, the Penny race was
Also a little
Penny
disappointing.
Githens.
Yeah, Penny
yeah,
Githens.
Mhm.
she ran for
Was it decided by 74 votes?
testing. Oh, sorry. It glitched out a little bit. And I was concerned because I'm wearing the
Oh.
headphones. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, wait. Yeah. So, but yeah, New York was one of the 2-3 main places in the country that had a red wave go through it. Florida is just because Democratic turnout collapsed, and also Florida is Florida. So,
Yeah.
take that as you will. And New York, the crime issue has really taken hold, which actually makes a lot of sense, because I think I'm
It
not saying
does and it doesn't.
it
New York
does and it
City is
doesn't.
pretty safe compared to most big cities.
It is, but the crime hype is
Yeah.
a
yeah.
media thing.
Well,
And
also, their own mayor is not helping things.
their own mayor's not helping things either. But I'm from Detroit. I know crime well. I'm not saying that it's not an issue. I'm just saying that it conveniently only comes up in election cycles. And it got a
Yeah.
lot of hype in the media this time around, because there have been some spikes in some areas of crime. The thing is, though, is that I think the reason it didn't quite register in the rest of the country is because a lot of media centers are centered in New York.
Yeah.
So a
The
lot
New
of
York
media
Times.
center, yeah, like
The New York Post.
the New York Post,
This is I'm seeing it
right?
now, guys.
The Wall Street
Whoa.
Journal,
What?
right? Like,
No way.
like
The
I'm
New
pretty,
Yorker.
yeah, you
Portal.
know, like a lot of big national media circuits are centered in New York, and so
BuzzFeed.
yeah,
That is not a news organization.
that is not a news
Good try though.
snipping that in there. But I think they just bought into the hype that was going on around them, and then everyone else in the country was like,
Yeah.
I mean, crime's an issue, but so is abortion rights and these people trying to
Yeah.
overthrow elections.
I
So,
mean, yeah, crime's an issue, but I guess you kind of have to look at trends. You can't look at it in a vacuum.
yeah,
Like, is it getting better? Is it getting worse?
Worse,
And like
yeah.
compared to how much time?
yeah, and I think an underrated reason why crime is spiking in some areas is because the world literally shut down for 2 years. I don't think we as a society have.
I don't know
like,
if that's underrated. Like some people have. Already
some
said
people
that.
have already said that. Yeah, I don't. It's definitely been said, but I don't think it's a main enough talking point in the national conversation. That like, the world and the country literally broke for 2 years. Like, society literally one day up and shifted. It was the closest we ever got to living through a zombie movie that we'll ever get. Right? Like,
Why would you say that? Now we're actually going through a zombie movie.
no, I'm
Never
not.
say never.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm watching The Last of Us. I am not going to be one of the survivors. I'm not the strongest. Just let me go. But, but I think like our society, and not only that, we lost over 1 million people. And like there were times during the different heights of the pandemic, where we were losing about 3,400-ish people a day. That's just about as many people died during 9/11. We were having a 9/11 every day. That is traumatizing to a society. And I'm not a psychologist. I don't know how any of this works. But I think that's a reason for why our society feels a little broken now. Inflation is another part of it. Political polarization. We have, I would say America in particular has a community problem and a loneliness problem. That's pre-pandemic though, but the pandemic exacerbated it. And the lack of community, which I think a part of it is to be blamed by American suburbanization, but I shall refrain from that rant.
We'll have a whole nother
Hold back.
episode.
We'll have a whole nother episode. Please invite me back.
We
This
should
is
have a
so
whole
fun.
series of podcasts just
No.
spinning off from this.
We don't have a podcast.
But we should.
That would be fun, actually. I would be down with having a podcast. But like, I think our society just I think there are so many issues that our society has that we know we have, but aren't properly framed properly in the national conversation because there isn't a lot of political incentive to. Like, what is the political incentive to talk about loneliness in our society? Right,
Yeah.
particularly with young people. Like, what votes does that get you? Right, who donates to your campaign after that? And that's a really frustrating part of politics.
Mm-hmm.
That if you can't vote or you don't got no money, you're basically irrelevant. And this is why homelessness is a massive issue. But it's also just like how it's talked about on a national or even on a local level is so skewed because homeless people usually don't or can't vote and they don't have any money to give. They don't have any organizations really. So, and this is why I think conversations around poverty are so a little misconstrued. Same issue, right? So I think there are so many issues that the country, and I think this is like the number one and there are two really, really, really massive problems American society has to reckon with if we're going to like actually be okay, is money in politics. And by extension, changing, I don't know how you would do this, but changing like what matters in politics in general, like how people vote. Like I think people often vote with themselves in mind, and I understand how one can do that. But I think it is equally important to vote for your community. So like what may not be the best for you personally in your own pocketbook, but what's best for the country. And I think any person, regardless of political ideology, liberal, conservative, far right, far left, centrist, whatever, should have that internal dialogue with themselves. Like, is what I want best for the country? But I digress. I'll put myself back because I was really about to go into it.
That was a very interesting point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I think that's impossible to do.
it is because human
Not
nature.
to be a downer, but
Yeah, no, you're
you know,
right.
I
Like,
can tell myself a million times, "Oh, I'm voting for other people," but really, it's also helping me.
yeah, it's human nature. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I'll just vote for whoever you tell me to, Connor.
I am actually that friend to a number of people.
I
and it-
try to tell people to do their own research, but some of them just do not want to.
No, it was so oh my God. I had the funniest, like, it was the last election, like the last midterm election.
Yeah.
My friend, who I've been friends with for 10 years, literally sent me a photo of her empty ballot.
It was like,
And
help
was
me.
like, fill this. No, she was literally like, fill this out for me. I was like, girl, why you got a ballot?
Yeah.
And
You're
I
supposed
was-
to do that before you get
You're
the
supposed to do that before you get the ballot. And she was asking me a death question. She was like, who do I vote for in the school board race? I'm like, girl, I haven't lived there in 5 years.
Was this for Detroit?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
That's
to
funny.
make matters worse is that she wasn't even in Detroit. She was in Ann Arbor because she goes to U of M. I'm like, Marcella, girl, I don't know who these people
Yeah.
are.
Well, one of my friends texted me and they're like, who should I vote for? And I'm like, well, are you voting in Bloomington? And they're like, no, I'm voting in Hammond. And I'm like,
How am I supposed to help you?
I don't know anybody there. I don't know. I do not know.
I would have told them to make sure they vote for Frank Mervan, but then,
Well,
the
yeah,
rest-
other than that, but I'm like, I don't know anybody else that is running there that is not statewide. So I don't know what to tell you.
I
Well,
really
at
don't know. what to
least you
do.
can help them out with the statewide stuff.
Yeah, but that's easy.
That's easy. Vote with
You
the
already
person with
know-
the D by their name.
You should already know a little bit about these people. It's the local offices that you don't know anything about.
Yeah, the nonpartisan ones.
And
That's
the
how they get
nonpartisan
you.
ones too, especially. I didn't even know what I was doing there, so I didn't really
No,
tell anyone who to vote
There
for.
were like I've been into politics since I was like 8, and when I tell you, I voted the first general election I ever voted in was 2022, and I got to that school board race, them school board races, and I was like, dang.
Yeah, I tried to do some research, but I was like, man, I really don't know.
No, I just forgot to research them because I was like, that's rough.
So did you just skip that one?
I voted for one person. I voted for Ashley Pirani.
Okay.
Because I knew like I had like trusted friends that I'd actually trust, and they were like, "Yeah, she's great."
Okay, I don't
was
remember who I
like-
voted for
I was like,
Me
"Okay,"
in that one.
but I left the other ones blank because I was like, I don't know who these people are, and I felt so bad. But luckily, it's Bloomington,
Yeah.
so like there weren't any true psychos running. But hey, to all the listeners out there, whoever you may be, please vote in your school board elections because crazy people run for those positions. The people that want to ban books and
Ooh.
think drag queens are spawns of the devil or whatever they believe. I really don't know, but make sure you don't vote for them.
We should probably leave it there.
Yeah.
That was a good place to stop.
Make sure you do your research.
Make sure you do your research.
If you can. It's very hard, I'm not going to lie.
And make sure you register to vote.
Yep.
And
IndianaVoters.com.
Yes.
Check it out. It's a cool site.
And a small piece of advice. I know it is really easy to get caught in the drawl of national politics and then become hopeless because you think your one vote doesn't matter in the storm that is like 100 million. Listen, all politics is national, but all governing is local. Okay, if you want to make change in your community, it happens on a local level. Washington, D.C. does a good thing every 10 years. Your community can do 10 good things in a month. So make sure you get involved in local politics.
It's a good
True
point.
that.
Don't pay attention to national politics and be all depressed. Pay attention to local politics and be all depressed.
No,
And
that's
with
for real.
that,
That's for real.
we will be signing off. Thank you for listening to GavCon 5. I'm Connor Wright.
I'm Gavin Gorski.
And
You're
I'm
listening-
CJ Miller. Oh, I'm
yep,
sorry.
Thanks.
CJ
being
Miller.
on the
No,
show.
you're good. And thanks for listening to 99.1 WIUX LP Bloomington. We'll be back next week.